stops along the way at Frontierland and Fantasyland. Sit tight and keep your hands, arms, feet, and legs well inside the train. We're leaving Main Street Station right now, so wave it goodbye. But if you stay on board long enough, sooner or later, you'll be back.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
For a conductor like me, there's no better place to ride the rails than the Magic Kingdom. By the way, we're traveling on pure steam power. This old locomotive is descended from the mighty trains that powered the golden age of steam. And just like me, it's a little old-fashioned. Now, where else can you travel from the charm of Main Street, USA, to the untamed jungles of Africa, Asia, and South America? At the Magic Kingdom, anything is possible, and we're headed straight to the heart of Adventureland. It can get pretty wild in these parts, especially if you run into Captain Jack Sparrow. He's hiding out among those scurrilous pirates of the Caribbean.
Please keep your feet inside of the train, thank you.
Flying on Aladdin's magic carpets, when you visit Adventureland, bring an extra dose of bravery. As for me, I'll stay safe and sound right here aboard my train if you don't mind. Home to covered wagons, cowpokes, and country bears. And we've got our own mountain range of exciting adventures. You might catch a runaway mine train at Big Thunder Mountain, or hop on over to Splash Mountain down into Briar Patch. We've reached Frontierland Station, everyone, so sit tight until we come to a complete stop. Usually disembark here, please carry your strollers all the way off the platform before you unfold them. That'll help make room for the new passengers joining us.
As we enter Frontierland Station, please remain fully and completely seated until the train has come to a full and complete stop, and I have given you the all clear to disembark. Once again, please remain fully and completely seated until the train has come to a full and complete stop, and I've given you the all clear to disembark. Remain seated, please. We're not quite there yet. Just a little bit further. Please remain seated. We will have to back up our train. Please remain seated. Remain seated, please. We do have to back up a few feet. Remain seated, please. Folks, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You get to ride on the train going backwards. Remain seated, please. Once I have clearance from my station conductor, we can head backwards. Once again, remain seated. It should just take a few short moments, folks. Remain seated. Almost there. Almost. Almost. All clear. Please watch your step as you exit the train. This is Frontierland, your closest stop to Liberty Square in Adventureland. If you're staying on board with us, our next stop is Fantasyland Station. Have a magical day.
Oh, no problem.
Some more fun.
Exactly. No, you want to be on the end.
Hey, stop. Someone's going to
We'll on to Splash Mountain.
Oh, I believe it.
Jump off. We're going down to fast.
Yeah, no. You run faster.
He's fine. I'm going to get up.
Kind of go.
It's funny. They call it. Except the lady. No, probably hits them the mother. We could get a purse. You want to bet?
Probably. We're staring down at Splash Mountain, the line for Splash Mountain. Pretty good line for a Thursday at 4:45. We should be departing the station here shortly. Nobody listens.
Good evening and welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Railroad. If you are traveling with children, please be sure they are seated towards the inside of the row with a responsible adult. On the open right-hand side, for your own safety, please remain fully and completely seated, keeping all hands, feet, arms, and legs inside of the train at all times. For the comfort and safety of those around you, please no eating, drinking, or smoking while aboard the train. Our next stop is Fantasyland Station. Your host will stop here Tomorrowland. We have a clear promotion at this time. Please no further seat changing. Make sure all body parts are inside of the train. Sit back and relax. We are all aboard.
Howdy, folks. If you're just joining us, welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Railroad. We're headed for Fantasyland and to Main Street, USA. Everybody stay seated. Keep your hands and arms, feet and legs safely inside the train. And as always, keep an eye on your little ones.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
As we head into the American wilderness, we'll pass by the dusty desert town of Tumbleweed. And keep your eyes peeled for the runaway mine trains of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Runaway trains. Now I ask you, is that any way to run a railroad? I feel right at home here in the prairies and forests.
Please keep your feet inside of the train. Feet inside of the train. Thank you.
Nowadays, the rails can carry us safely through the wild, and a trip that used to take months can now be made in just a few weeks. There's plenty of deer, antelope, and elk that feed along the banks of the river. And naturally, plenty of early settlers decided to put down stakes and live here too. Of course, those early settlers weren't the first to make their home in this wild frontier. These native tribes of Plains Indians were living, hunting, and trading for centuries before we ever came along. They were the first to tame the wild horses of the American plains, long before our big old iron horses started chugging through these parts. We're almost out of the woods, folks. We're coming up on the most magical of lands, Fantasyland, a place where any dream can come true. Fly over London with Peter Pan. Set sail on It's a Small World. Take a trip under the sea with the Little Mermaid, or be our guest at an enchanted feast in the Beast's castle. Whether you're a pixie, a princess, or just an everyday dreamer, there's always something special about Fantasyland. If you've been riding trains as long as this old-timer, you may remember the days when the circus would come to town on the local railway. Well, the circus is here, and it's set up permanent headquarters as the Fantasyland Storybook Circus. This is the place to fly high with Dumbo, or join Goofy on the Barnstormer, a rollicking ride of circus acrobatics and coaster thrills. This station is also your gateway to the rest of Fantasyland and Tomorrowland. Now,
Please keep your feet inside of the train. Thank you.
and carry your strollers away from the platform before you start unfolding them. That way we can start loading up for the next leg of our trip. For those of you disembarking, please watch your step. And thanks for traveling with us on the Walt Disney World Railroad. Join us again real soon.
As we enter Fantasyland Station, please remain fully and completely seated until the train has come to a full and complete stop, and I've given you the all clear to disembark. Please remain seated. We're not quite there yet. Remain seated, please. Remain seated. All clear. Please watch your step as you exit the train. This is Fantasyland Station, your closest stop to Tomorrowland. If you're staying on board, our next stop is Main Street Station. Have a magical day, folks.
No, you're staying on too? Would you like to go back around the rest since he's trying to video some stuff? Okay, thank you so much. Now I feel guilty. Well, you want the outside, don't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
Well, we're going to have to make room for people, though.
Yeah,
trip
that's fine.
out of the Magic Kingdom with stops at Main Street Station and report to the Big Town Supervisor. We'll have plenty of time to tour the Magic Kingdom after the big show.
We can take 2 more in here
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,
if you wanted to.
I think the party that was coming in had like 7 at least. So yeah, thank you though.
Absolutely.
Main Street Station and Frontierland. All aboard.
I just saw one. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Good afternoon, folks. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Railroad. Please remain seated at all times while this train's in motion, keeping hands, arms, feet, and legs all the way inside. There's to be no eating, drinking, or smoking on board. That does include Facebook updates, tweeting, and texting. Next stop's going to be Main Street, USA, hometown of Mickey Mouse, the Storybook Princesses, and the park exit. After that, we're going to make a stop over at Frontierland Station, the wildest station in the West. They're going to be right back here in 20 minutes' time. Alright, folks, those 2 whistles mean we just got clearance to Main Street, USA. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We are all aboard!
It's 20 minutes plus.
He said we'll be back here in 20 minutes, so.
To embark on the next leg of our journey, our destination is Main Street, USA. Now, everyone stay seated and keep your hands and arms, feet and legs inside the train at all times. Oh, and please keep an eye on your children.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del tren. Y cuide a los pequeños. Gracias.
I can get out of hand too.
There are some who say that this steam train is a little old-fashioned, but for me, it's the only way to travel. Of course, there are those who prefer to hit the highway, and on the right, you just might spot some pint-sized drivers taking their first spin behind the wheel of a car. Getting from place to place is a big deal in Tomorrowland, where you might board a people mover, zip around on the Astro Orbiter, or book a flight across the galaxy in our busy starport in Space Mountain. Tomorrowland is truly a world on the move. Speaking of moving, it seems like a whole lot of new neighbors have been migrating in from all corners of the Milky Way. There's that rascally Experiment 626, better known as Stitch, always up to his usual antics. Buzz Lightyear is scouting for a few good space rangers. Even the monsters of Monstropolis have taken a shine to Tomorrowland. I hear those monsters are pretty funny. They're sure funny looking. Yep, the future is here today at the Magic Kingdom. And the future looks like a lot of fun. But after working on the railroad all the livelong day, it's nice to come home to good old Main Street, USA. Inspired by the small-town dreams of a young Walt Disney, a walk down Main Street is like stepping back into the early years of the 20th century. Of course, ours is a Main Street of the imagination, and we've got our own hometown hero, Mickey Mouse. Mickey and his friends have gathered at the Town Square Theater, and they're always happy to meet their fans. We've made a complete trip around the Magic Kingdom. For those of you who've been on board for the whole journey, thanks for putting up with me these past few days. If you're staying with us, we'll be headed for Frontierland next. Right now, please stay seated until our train comes to a complete stop. Then pick up your belongings and carefully step off the train. If you have strollers to unfold, please take them all the way beyond the platform so we can safely board passengers for the next leg of our journey. This is Main Street Station, Main Street, USA.
Alright, folks, as we approach Main Street, USA, please remain seated for me until this train comes to a full and complete stop. I'll give you those two magical words you've been dying to hear. Those are all clear. Once I say that, you get up out of your seat. But until then, remain seated for me, please. Just in front of the gold, not quite there yet. Remain seated.